Hello, this is Desiree Dubonnet. Now, please don't forget about the Nelson method of medicine, steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. But today we're going to talk about step number 5, constitutionals, the metabolic problem.
Why do some people have such huge benefits from certain diets and treatments, but on you, it didn't work out too well? The real reason is because you two have different body types, or in Chinese medicine and acupuncture world, we say different body constitution.
What organ or location or pathway in the body is most likely the cause of your health issues? You have to understand what is a root problem and what is a branch problem.
In medicine, we need to be able to understand the root, the core problem, some of the DNA tendencies, and not just the branches that come out of that, because we have to recognize the incredible diversity of human beings, that we are treating individuals. We have to understand the diversity. And we have to also understand everybody has different DNA, and certain people have a problem in their DNA, and they have a weakness. You're only as strong as your weakest link or your weakest gene. In the Nelson system, we're going to deal with the causes, the organs, unblock the blockages, treat symptoms, of course. We're going to deal with all of that. And we also have to build our base medicine in behavioral medicine. That's why the SOC. But beyond all of that, we need to also recognize the individual and treating the individual, whether they be heavy, whether they be skinny, with all of these things that we happen, people are different. They have different body shapes, different body types, different constitutionals, whether you're dealing in homeopathy or acupuncture. All the way back to the beginning of medicine, people recognized that there was different constitutional types, different body types that had to be treated different in medicine. In grade school, I was taught about the ectomorph and the mesomorph and the endomorph. We're taught about all these little things to be able to recognize some of the ideas and recognize the differences in people. Different types of ethnicity also creates a different type of condition in the body. And we have to be able to deal with the individuality. That's what holistic medicine is about. Having its roots in China, we have to be able to recognize and deal with the holistic individual.
Root problem, a constitutional genetic tendency running in that family. The constitutional root of it, the origin, the core through line of your life, like that one problem you keep having under stress, that is the root problem.
The idea of the constitutional root problem, not the branch, not just the symptoms. Now, Hippocrates had described them as temperaments, body types which he called temperaments, the way people were. Hahnemann had called them miasms, the idea of different types of miasm. Dr. von Grauvogel had an idea about hydrogenoid, oxygenoid, carbonitrogenoid. In fact, since the discovery of elements of his time, he was able to suppose that was how the body handled these simple nutrients, these simple elements, the basic ideas, which now we can understand in pH, we can understand protein, we can understand his ideas. Very, very profound. And we need to build on this and recognize, where does this idea of the different minerals fit into the Chinese and other ideas of constitution? And that's what this lecture is all about.
The constitutional homeopathy treats the whole person, and it views all problems as one because they are always interrelated. Most people don't quite get it. It sounds too much like a cliche, a platitude, a holistic talking point. They don't understand that this is meant literally.
We must learn to treat the metabolic constitutional weaknesses of the individual. And I'm going to teach you how to do this with our machine very simply and very easily. So that as we look at the different ideas of body type and learn about their different ways of how they handle nutrition, exercise, oxygen, etc., we can start to realize that we could fix the break in the chain and that the truth of understanding will set our health free.
So that points to really a clear constitutional root, as we call it, or a genetic tendency. So for some people, there is a very, very strong genetic tendency that runs in families, and we use the word constitution.
Traditional Chinese medicine had profound ideas about the constitutions and the flow of energy that was different in people, different in different seasons, where you were born, how you were born, so that all of this was recognized as a cycle and a flow and a change.
So when Wendy consults me for her low back pain, she assumes that I want to talk mostly about her back pain. But when I ask additional questions and find out that she also suffers from erratic menstrual cycles, patches of eczema on her arms, fatigue in the afternoons, a tendency to wake too early in the mornings, a craving for sweets, a fear of heights, and a tendency to be argumentative and irritable, she begins to think that maybe I think that all these things are somehow connected.
Holistic health, holistic medicine, is the best way of analyzing and getting to the core, the root of the problem to help. And this is all coming to us from ancient China over 5,000 years ago.
Of course, I take it for granted that they are all connected. That's why my goal is to prescribe the single remedy that best matches the totality of her overall condition.
We have to understand some of the basic constitutional remedies in homeopathy and how we could adapt them. Constitutional homeopathy started off very, very simple, 3 parts. Very interesting about these parts, and then it expanded into more and more parts. And then with our machine, we took it to the max to try to understand completely the ideas of what homeopathic constitutions could be and how we could deal with them with our device.
The constitutional root of it, the origin, the core through line of your life, like that one problem you keep having under stress, that is the root problem. Now, the reason this isn't talked about in conventional medicine is that, frankly, 95% of conventional medicine purely is symptomatic medicine.
Modern medical doctors will wake you up to give you a sleeping pill. They really don't quite understand the body.
Allopathy is the form of medicine to decrease the symptoms. The allopath wants to know what your symptoms are and how we can decrease them. He's pressed for time, and he's really doing crisis medicine.
You will never take an antidepressant and be better 6 months after taking it. You will never take hypothyroid medication and in 6 months be healthier than you were before if you stop taking it.
You are not depressed because you're deficient in Prozac or any of these different drugs. The real truth is that modern medicine has slanted itself towards symptoms and not towards real cure.
You will never take GERD or acid reflux medication and in 6 months be healthier than you were before. They're not designed to do that. So we want to get down to the root.
Drug companies are more concerned with profit, and the more synthetic drugs that have been entered the market, the more disease that there is. We need to get to the root, the constitution.
Constitution can come from 2 sources. First, inherited, just like gene being passed down from your parents. Second, acquired, from big things such as the environment that you lived in, down to small behaviors such as enjoying ice cream after dinner or your exercising routine.
Our constitutional makeup starts out with our DNA, but then the epigenetic ideas of pressure and tension on our ancestors enters in, and then also the nurture idea of what happens to us as our life, because this also shapes and changes the basic constitution of who and what we are. We need to put this into our medicine.
Deficiency, which means your body is lacking something. Excess means your body is having too much of certain materials. And third, blockages. You don't have to have all of the following symptoms to be categorized into that body type.
In the Nelson method, we have looked at deficiencies, we've looked at blockages, we've looked at the causes in order to understand more. And we start to get an idea of some of the hormonal aspects, of some of the endocrine functions that also create a type of constitutionalism, and we develop a way to treat them. Another type of constitutional that we look at in our books and in our system of the Nelson method is that of the blood type personality, because we find that certain blood types will also reflect a type of constitution, a type of profile, and that we can develop an energetic method of treating this and clearing this out as well. Using our energetic medicine technology to measure reactivity in a cybernetic loop, we were able to develop a system of acupuncture points to be able to deal with many different types of acupuncture conditions and diseases. Most importantly, constitutionals, to be able to deal with the constitutionals, sending the energy into the human body, seeing how they react, and working back and forth until we can stabilize and help to ease the constitutional, stimulate, boost the qi, boost the yin, boost the yang, and help the person to clear out and be able to have a much more healthy life with vitality.
Our body can be divided into 9 constitutions. Qi deficient type. Qi is the vital energy and the life force of our body. When qi is deficient, our body is lacking its energy to perform its function. For example, when qi is deficient in our digestive system, then we may experience bloating or indigestion. When it's deficient in our respiratory system, shortness of breath, or we may have a compromised immune system. When it's a general body deficiency, then we may experience fatigue and low energy.
Qi follows the electricity and follows the mind. So we could develop electroceuticals that could boost the qi in the body, stabilize the body electric.
Yang deficiency. The concept of yang and yin is like fire and water. You can imagine them being the body's own furnace system. You want them to be in a perfect balance for your body to be in a healthy state. Yang deficiency is when the firepower is too weak. Our whole body gets cold.
Likewise, we found a way electrically with electroceuticals to be able to boost the yang in the system because we're trying to find balance, symmetry, health.
Yin deficient, on the other hand, is when our body's furnace system does not have enough fluid to cool off. There's too much firepower, so your body will start to feel hot and dry inside.
And it takes a different type of electrical pattern to be able to boost yin. It's all about yin and yang, qi, energy, flow, ease of flow to conquer disease.
Damp and phlegm accumulation. Dampness is a unique concept in Chinese medicine. It happens when our body loses the ability to get rid of excessive amount of water that's being trapped in our system. This type of individual will start to experience heaviness, swelling, and the following symptoms.
This here is just one example of some of the thousands of electroceuticals that we use to be able to balance the body. A system of scientifically octo and sono epigenetics to ease disease.
Damp heat. Damp heat body type is a combination of dampness accumulation together with excessive energy in our body. This type of individual tend to suffer from skin issues such as eczema or acne, and they adapt poorly to hot and damp environments.
Along with the electroceuticals, of course, we work with exercise, we work with many different other cooking, foods, because treating and balancing this requires an entire lifestyle of health.
Qi stagnation. Qi stagnation is when our body's energy gets stuck. Just imagine you already late for work but stuck in traffic. You might feel frustrated, headache, or sometimes even panic attack. If this is you constantly without any external factors, there might be a traffic jam in your body.
Qi stagnation and other little energetic imbalances, the so-called traffic jam in the body, can result in different disease patterns and aggravations of disease. Now let's get into some of the constitutionals and understand about them.
We'll call it the spleen, stomach, and pancreas. Now, when we're talking about this diagnosis of spleen qi deficiency that is very commonly diagnosed from acupuncturists, a lot of what we're seeing is primarily the symptoms revolve around the digestive system. Like the textbook person with this kind of diagnosis typically has a bit lower appetite. They typically are thinner, more.
You can learn more about the details of how to analyze this from some of our books and some of our videos. But we've made energetic videos to treat this for people who have this type of constitution. I've made electroceuticals.
We'll call the kidney and the bladder. Now, traditionally, when people have a constitutional kidney and bladder origin, root cause of a lot of their issues, some anatomically relate to that organ. For these kinds of people, let's start with the most obvious ones. We see symptoms like frequent urination, nighttime urination. It also includes
Electroceuticals use optical, visual, and sono sound, ultrasounds, infrasounds, many different types of optical, visual vibration, and sound vibration to produce electrical changes in the body. Electroceuticals, then, thereby, are designed to replace pharmaceuticals.
this lung, spleen, large intestine, and mucosal issues. Now, lots of people that are genetically very phlegmy, they clear their throat a lot, they also have postnasal drip, and they also sometimes have a tendency towards catching respiratory viruses going around. So the mucosa you see in the lungs, you see in the ear, nose, and throat.
Pharmaceuticals, basically the word pharma comes from the Greek word poison from a witch. Pharmaceuticals, thereby synthetic, almost always synthetically made, are denatured and don't have the life force in them. So we've made electroceuticals with the life force, with the vibration, to replace them.
Say is the heart, kidney, and small intestine. So when we're talking about the heart, for example, of course it does relate to functions that are related to the anatomical heart, right? Like for example, issues with circulation and issues with blood pressure, issues that can be related to cardiovascular disease. But the heart also relates to the nervous system.
Pharmaceuticals have side effects, especially synthetic pharmaceuticals. So we've made electroceuticals with visual, optical, and sound, ultrasound, infrasound, many different types of vibrations, many different types of ideas to accomplish the same goal with much more safety and efficacy.
We're going to call this the liver, gallbladder, and the triple warmer. This is the only organ in traditional Chinese medicine that does not have an anatomical correlate. About the liver and the gallbladder, what are some of the main symptoms people see? The most common symptoms that I see related to acid reflux. GERD, acid reflux, all kinds of upper GI issues.
So we've made a vast number, right now, almost 1,500 different electroceuticals for many different conditions, and especially for the ideas of acupuncture, the diseases, because we find that acupuncture is a 5,000-year-old system, met the test of time, incredibly validated, consistent, and it's about energy flow through the body. Energetic medicine, completely verified, validated. So we've made a system that will allow you to measure the body electric, fix the body electric. The system's been FDA registered since 1989, and it's designed to allow you to be able to do all energetic medicine work, and to especially do the work of the acupuncturist. In the hands of a qualified acupuncturist, this system is a profound advance in the field of energetic medicine, in the field of acupuncture. So I built for you the most incredible medical device to be able to measure your body electric and treat it, to be able to boost your qi, boost the yin, the yang, the different forces, to be able to educate the muscles for sport, to dramatically improve sport, educate the mind, increase the intelligence, to help at school, to help in business, to be able to increase beauty, symmetry, to be able to then deal with the spirit, and a holistic system of medicine to help you to develop and to help your diseases to bring you back to ease of flow. Get rid of the disease. This is Desiree Dubonnet. If you want to know more, watch our videos.